Welcome to episode 12 of the Photography Explained podcast. In this episode, why is composition so important? I'm your host Rick, and each week I will try to explain one photographic thing to you in plain English in less than 10 minutes without the irrelevant details. My aim is to explain things in just enough detail to help us with our photography and no more. Now, in the last episode, I went a bit rogue and I spoke on for way beyond the 10 minutes. I had an idea that I'd just make the explanation bit 10 minutes and have all the other bits around it, because I think I was beginning to fancy myself as a bit of a natural broadcaster. No more of that. This episode will be no more than 10 minutes long. I've learnt my mistake. I need to stick to my plan. Yep, I will be asking for 10 minutes of your time and no more. So why is composition so important? For me, this is a fundamental question and more important than all the other stuff that goes on. Let's start by looking at what composition is in photography. Hopefully I'll be able to say the word by the end of the episode. Quite simply, composition is the arrangement of the elements in an image to provide the viewer with an aesthetically pleasing viewing experience. Yes, I wrote that down, but that's my own words. It's not a Google definition, that's just what I think composition is. And please bear in mind I've been doing this for over 30 years, so hopefully I've got that one about right. What does this actually mean? Well, for me, the most important thing in photography is composition. This is, after all, what viewers of your photos are actually looking at. And if you think about it like that, nothing else matters, quite literally. Believe was an excellent song by Metallica. Don't know why I'm saying believe, I know it was. Well, you've got to get the technical stuff sorted, of course, but if your composition's rubbish, all that technical stuff's irrelevant. You might have the best camera, best lens, the best this, that and the other, but if your composition's rubbish, your photo's rubbish. It is that simple and that harsh. That's why I want to talk about composition so early on in my series of Photography Explained podcasts. In the next episode, I'm going to tell you all about the rules of composition. But in this episode, I'm just going to talk in general terms about the basics of composition. That's the second time I've not said it. Giving you some things to start thinking about. Some things to think about. This isn't an exhaustive list. This is just what came off the top of my head, which you might have worked out from previous episodes. Isn't always a good thing. What's the photo actually of? What are you taking a photo of? Why are you taking a photo? That's why I like to use a tripod, because it makes taking a photo a deliberate act of getting my tripod out, putting the camera on it, pointing it at something. What's the story you're trying to tell? Now, I know this sounds a bit arty-farty, but at the end of the day, a photograph should be a story. You should be telling something, giving people some information about something that they find interesting and pleasing, that tells them what it is they're looking at. What is the main subject? Sometimes it's very easy to take a photo that doesn't have a main subject. If you don't have a main subject, what you end up doing as the person looking at the photo is you're looking all over the place. You don't know what you're looking for. And if people are looking all over the place in a photo, then they're probably not going to look at it for very long. So in social media terms, you'll get less than a second of scrolling with no thumbs ups and the rest of it. See, I'm still down with the kids. Think about what you include in a composition. What's in the photo? How do they relate to each other? Which leads me on to possibly a more important thing. Think about what you're going to exclude from a composition. This is something that I work on quite a lot. I find out what it is that I want to photograph, and then I look at the bits around the edges, things I don't want in there, try and simplify it down. Now this takes a lot of practice, which is why on a number of occasions I said the number one way to improve your photography is to get out and take photos, and of course look at them afterwards. But yeah, thinking about what to exclude, it's important, and it's a really good exercise to go back over photographs you've taken and ask yourself one simple question. It's not what do I like about this photo, it's what do I not like about this photo. I said before, cluttered photos are not appealing or interesting. Cluttered photos, people just don't like them. I don't like them. You probably don't like them. We just generally don't like cluttered photos. We like to know what we're looking at and know that what we're looking at makes sense and tells us something. Next bullet point on my long list. Well, it's not that long, don't worry. I've only got 10 minutes anyway, so even if it's a long list, I'm just going to have to be a little bit quicker. Less is more. Say that about lots of things. Less is more. Or as somebody, well, I'll say his name, as Pat Flynn said, if it was simple, what would it look like? Love that. I'm trying to apply that to everything in my business. Less is more. Now, there's 3 elements in composition, which are foreground, middle ground, background. Now, these are hopefully self-explanatory, and if you align these 3 elements correctly, you will jump straight to my next bullet point, is you will add depth to a photo. I've got some great photos. Sorry, I shouldn't say I've got some great photos when I took them. I got some photos that demonstrate this really well on my website, photosofsantorini.com. Not a shameless plug, but there's one in particular, a picture on the caldera where I've got the depth. I just love it. And it's not often I say that about my photos because I don't think I'm that good. Next point, check the edges. See what there is there. Is there a TV aerial? Someone's arm? Part of a human? Half a cat? Anything? Check the edges. Yes, you can remove them in Photoshop afterwards, but if you can recompose so the edges don't have these things straying in there, that's much better. Saves you more time, and it's a good discipline to get into. Next bullet point, the lightest part. Now, it's human nature that our eye is drawn to the lightest part of a photo. That being the case, I have a very deliberate thing that I do, which I will tell you about on the next episode, where I use this principle. It's one of those things, the lightest part the eye is drawn to. If the lightest part is off to the top left, that's where the eye is drawn, and you've not got a great photo. Next point, all the above was, all the above, does that work in a podcast? Everything I've said so far, that's better, relates to the taking of photos. Now, it's very important that you think about these things when you're taking a photo, but afterwards, check the compositions on your computer, have a look at them, see what you think of them. Said it before, but I'll say it again, it's a really great tip. What do you like about an image? More importantly, what do you not like about an image? What would you take out of there? Final point is cropping. Now, cropping is a very powerful tool. Cropping is where you take the picture and you crop out bits around the edges. You focus in on one part of a photo. Now, my technique, which has evolved over the years, means that I don't crop images at all. This is something that was pointed out to me in a portfolio review. I didn't even know I was doing this. I was filling the frame and I wasn't cropping any images. Now, this is something that's coming in a future episode, but I want to make the point when I'm talking about cropping. Have a photo. Don't be afraid of taking out some of the photo if it improves your composition. To recap, a good composition provides an image that is pleasing to the viewer, gives interest that makes the viewer look at the photo and explore the content. I wrote that one as well, but it didn't read quite as well. What do I do? Well, I spend a lot of time working on compositions these days. I've realised how important it is and all the other stuff. Well, thankfully I've got that all down now, the technical side, so I don't need to worry about it. I have a style of my own, which check out my website and you can see my style and the photos that I take. I tend to use 17mm on 95% of my architectural images, something else that's evolved over time. Talking of time, I'm running out of it. So that's how my compositional style has evolved, but more on that in future episodes. I just wanted to get you thinking about composition because to me it's one of the most important things in photography. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a nice review and rating wherever you get your podcast from. Please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you could tell everyone you know about my podcast, that would be great. Better. Also check out my website, rickmcavoyphotography.com, where you can find out more about me and my photography work. Last thing for now, if there's a photography thing you want me to explain, let me know. I will add it to my list and I will explain it and give you a shout out. I've been Rick McEvoy. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.